Hey everybody, welcome to the first part of the Metal Gear retrospective reviews. This will be Metal Gear on the NES, which was the first ever American release of Metal Gear, which is a port from the MSX system for Japan. Now this game is really different from the MSX version, and not really in a good way, and I'll show you why it's different. Yeah, already in the first 5 seconds of the game, there's already a misspelling of something, which you're going to see a lot of in this game. Now, due to this game's just differentness overall from the other games, I really haven't been able to get very far in it, and I'll show you why once I die. I feel asleep. So yeah, this design is really different from the MSX version because in that you swim up to outer heaven, compared to this where it's just you parachute down with three other guys. And here's one big problem with this: you can't avoid these dogs at all. So you just gotta run past them and hope not to get hit. I think you can kind of punch that. You already saw that I kind of lost some life there, and that happens really easily in this game just because they didn't really program the hit detection very well, or at least getting hit, because as soon as you get hit, it just starts draining your life. There's no invincibility frames or anything like that. So if you took that path over there, it wouldn't have been very good because it's a dead end. And this guy's getting sleepy too, so he fell asleep. So let's just punch him. And see, even then, he wasn't even looking at me, but he still hurt me a bit, at least from what I saw. Now let's go into this really small looking truck. As you can see, I'm just as big as it. Let's go inside. And now it's much bigger. I have located binoculars. Okay, so here comes another big problem with this game. Right when you leave, you get shot. All the guards and dogs, they respawn as soon as you leave the screen. So let's go down here. And it's really hard not to get seen by these guys. Because even if they're not looking at you, they'll just somehow see you. And don't plan on going to the left or right, because as soon as you do that, the screen just loops like that. I don't know why they programmed it like that. So it's really different from the MSX version, where you can go left and right and it'll take you to a totally different area. So that's probably why Kojima disowns this game, since he didn't really have anything to do with it. I think the company's name is Ultra that did this, and they just got the source code from one of the other Konami teams without Kojima's team's permission. And look at that, I died already. What happens when you die? I'll show you in a second. You go right back to the beginning of the game. There's no checkpoints anywhere. You just don't start on the same screen again. You go back to the beginning. So it's really tedious, and that's one of the reasons why I've never beaten this game, or even really tried. But they're kind of generous, because when you do get sent back, you get to keep everything you got. But then again, you still have to travel all the way back. And in this game, there's no, the game doesn't give you a hint to what to do exactly. So you're kind of on your own. And that's not a very good thing when a lot of things are hidden, like enemy uniforms, which you find later in the game, that's hidden behind a random wall. And you have to keep knocking on random walls to find out where it is. So let's try to get a bit further. And again, like, you just get totally wrecked as soon as they see you. And if you go into a room that has a bunch of guys, you'll get killed much faster. Because as I said, there's no invincibility frames to help you out. As soon as they start swarming you, they all start hurting you at the same time. Now, I don't really mind the music for this. It's definitely not as good as like the MSX versions, especially Metal Gear 2. But again, it wasn't really Kojima's intention for this to be released. I do feel sorry for the people who bought this game because, as you can see, it's hard to make it even 30 seconds into the game without dying and getting sent all the way back. So I can't imagine what the end game looks like, where you actually have to face against Big Boss. Again, this guy feels asleep with us right in front of him, so let's just punch him out. Some of the guards will know when you're punching them, and then some just won't. It really makes no sense. Now, again with the level design, something that's never really made sense to me, even with the MSX version. Later on, there's a desert, and it's just full of scorpions, and they just float around everywhere, and they hurt you. And it just really never made sense to me, like, in a video game perspective. Especially when these games are trying to be realistic. Oh god. Alright, we made it a bit further, but I'm probably going to die on the screen. Like that. So I'm kind of glad with the later versions, which I'll probably be reviewing in the next few days, the MSX versions, that they were released on the Snake Eater disc for PS2 and PS3. It's just a really nice addition, so you can actually see what Kojima actually intended instead of what we have here. See, I literally had no chance there. And it's hard to actually sneak up on some of these guys, because as I said, sometimes they won't even be looking at you. You'll go up to punch them, and they'll automatically just know you're there and just swarm you. I can probably just walk past that guy. And right now I don't have a gun. It'd be much easier just to shoot these guys, because I don't remember if they can actually hear the bullets in this. I know they can with machine guns, but with the pistol, I'm not totally sure. Again, dead. I'll give it a few more tries, and I'll just give my final thoughts on this. There's really not much to say. They should have done much better with the spelling and grammar, because it gets much worse later on. Like, I think this is a later version of this game, because in the earlier versions I remember them saying, I have acquired binocular. So it's just, I don't know how this got through, but back then there wasn't much of a quality control compared to today. But the guards still operate almost the exact same in this version as the MSX version, so I don't think they really changed that, because they still go in that sort of pattern. They're not necessarily walking around at this point. They kind of just go in 4 different directions, like that. Compared to, I think in Metal Gear 1 for the MSX, they do actually walk around. See, there again, at first he wasn't looking at me, then all of a sudden he just turned around and knew exactly where I was. Oh, I have located card 1. And again, right when you get out of there, they see you, so I don't think there's any... I actually don't think there is any ranking system for this, because it would be impossible to get Big Boss if you tried. Because it's basically a death trap anytime you go in any of these trucks. From what I remember in the MSX versions, guards do reappear, but they don't reappear until you completely leave the area you're in, not just a section of the area, which is really helpful. So you don't just go inside a room and all of a sudden you leave and you get swarmed with guards. I'm going to die again very soon. The controls, they're pretty responsive, which is very surprising for an NES game. At least NES games like this that aren't never really had quality control. Like, if you hit the button, there's really no lag to it. Okay, I'll give it one more try and we'll see how far we can get. Some of those trucks, if you go inside them, they'll take you to different areas. Sometimes that's really good and useful, but then other times it'll just take you back to the beginning, and you'll never know which truck does that to you. He feels asleep. Again, like, you should be able to... There's a space up there to the right between those trucks and the trees. You should be able to go through it, but it doesn't work. So, go down here again. The A button, as of right now, is pretty much useless, so I'm just spamming B to punch these guys. I forget what the A button is used for. I think it's just used for, like, certain gadgets. Well, not really gadgets, but other items. Oh, God. Okay, let's try to make it down to this truck. Okay, there we go. Uh-oh, the truck have started to move. See, again, it's that, it's all these typos that just make this game classic, but in the wrong way. I think this guard will leave me alone. Okay, your turn. Alright. Weapon, equipment. I think the card will work here. So now we're finally in the base. And it only gets harder from here. And now the guards are actually walking around, compared to just standing in one place. And it's a lot easier with them walking around, because you know exactly which way they'll turn next. Let's see what Big Boss has to say. Be careful not to let enemy detect you. Oh, I love this. See, if the game wasn't so punishing with having to make you restart to the beginning, I think this could actually be a pretty fun game. And also with the enemies, if they were a bit different instead of like that. See, you'd, other than having the binoculars, you would never know they're looking that way at you. You know what, let's just give it one more try. I'm feeling lucky right now. But overall, if they changed some things, the gameplay just would be a lot better. And I could see this being more of a classic game than how it is right now, and maybe Kojima would have actually accepted it. Because it really doesn't make sense why he didn't think of a North American release at the time. Unless he was thinking of it, but these people just stole the idea. Thankfully, this wasn't the nail on the coffin for the Metal Gear series, because it could have been, seeing how bad this game actually turned out. But luckily, Metal Gear Solid 1 changed that. And now Metal Gear is just loved by all. Okay. Come on. Let me... Sometimes it's hard to get into these trucks. Just because you have to hit a certain spot of it. Like, you can't just go into the back. There's a certain part along the back which you have to go into. Okay, I already had the card out. So, Actually, before I go in there, what I want to do is go into one of these trucks. I think my gun is in one of these. So I'm going to try that. Oh yeah, I forgot. You can't go left or right without just repeating the screen. Come on. There we go. And again, the truck has started to move, so it's probably going to take me to some other location. And now I literally have no idea where I am. Huh, someone was calling me, but... Okay, let's go in here. Ammo. The gun is pretty powerful in this game, and it'll basically kill anything in one hit. Like, even just a handgun will do that. I'm not sure like how it works on bosses, since I haven't really made it to any of them. And as you can see, it just took me to some random area, so I have no idea where I am. And again, it never tells you which trucks will do this. It kind of just does it on its own. And it took me all the way back here, and I'm probably going to die now. Oh, come on. Come on, get in, get in. And again, as you see, I was running into the back of that truck, but it never actually let me in. There is a password system for this game. As you can see, it's a lot of digits. Luckily, that's basically all just 111. But 25 digits is kind of a bit of an overkill. But luckily, it still has that. As you can see, I was on the title screen. But a few seconds later, it'll just take me to the gameplay trailer of the game. So, overall, my thoughts on it is that this game could have been really good if they actually put more time to fixing the gameplay, fixing the spelling errors, and just maybe should have just kept the level design the way it was instead of making it look like this, as I can say. So, all in all, I'd probably give the game like a 4 out of 10, just because it is Metal Gear and it actually has the feeling of Metal Gear. It's just not anywhere close to the MSX version. So, in the next few days, I'm going to actually be looking at Metal Gear 1 on the MSX and show you how much it changed for the better.